Wrestling Federation, home to some of Australia's most talented professional wrestlers. In this episode, Life In explores what these men and women do in their lives in the AWF. We start our journey off at AWF's training facility in Minto, where all new wrestlers also begin theirs. Life In will journey with AWF founder Greg Bounds as he shows us what it's like to be wrestling in the AWF.
Well, I established the AWF in 1999. It's grown considerably since I started running professional wrestling in Australia. We have shows all over Australia. Initially it was just New South Wales. Basically from there, we've got our own wrestling school. We have a whole bunch of wrestlers now that I've trained and established that wrestle all over Australia, and we reach a wide fan base of supporters, not only in Australia but in other countries. And we continue to make Australian wrestling known around the world, and to hopefully do it proud. The main things that made me want to start professional wrestling is when I was a young boy. I actually liked to watch wrestling from the very first time I saw it when I was 7 years of age. I enjoyed what it offered. There's a lot of things going on there that were very colorful, that were interesting to me. There's a lot of situations where you could do things that you just generally couldn't do in real life, and I always thought it was a very interesting concept. I like the duality of the good versus evil. I like the characters. I like the superhumanness of some of the people involved. There's a whole lot of elements. I like the athleticism. I think that from the very first time I saw them, I just thought they were super athletes, and I was just mesmerized and interested in the whole concept of what it was about. Obviously, when I was younger, there was the question of whether it was real or whether it was predetermined activity. I always just thought it was something very interesting and very different, and I think these things attracted it to me, along with the aura around the wrestling, that it was something that you probably couldn't do in Australia. It was more of an American thing, and it was very difficult to find out where you could do it, or whatever places that were, you might see something in a newsagent or see something at a video store, and it was very underground, and I kind of thought there would be an opportunity there for maybe myself to try and find something and build it here in Australia, and to an extent I've done that, and it's been one hell of a ride the whole way. It takes a certain type of person to become a professional wrestler, I think. I think they definitely need a combination of desire, determination, and dedication to become a professional wrestler. It's not something that comes quickly. It's a process. There's a lot of training involved. There's a lot of self-discipline, and there's a lot of just time where you're going to be testing yourself. You could be hurt. It may not be something physically everybody can do, but what I've established with the AWF is a place where if people are very interested in the wrestling and want to pursue it, they could actually join our wrestling school. And if they don't have the tools to become a professional wrestler, maybe they can be a referee. Or if they couldn't be competent as a referee, maybe they could become part of the ring crew or part of the show in another way. So we always welcome people to come and join the AWF and be part of our family. And there are different roles for different people at different aptitudes. To become one of the main crew wrestlers these days is very difficult, because it's the high level of skill that the wrestlers are actually achieving and hold at these days, because they've been training for years, and it takes a lot of dedication to get into that level and that grade. But with a good fighting spirit and a lot of heart and a lot of dedication, definitely if someone has the right attitude and the right tools, they can become professional wrestlers and join our promotion. Now that you've seen what goes on at the AWF School of Pro Wrestling, we're going to head down to the Cube for the main event, and we're going to see AWF live event action.
The Campbelltown Cube, tonight's location for AWF's main event and another action-filled night of Australian wrestling entertainment.
We have an absolutely huge show planned for you here this evening with 6 big matches planned where you will see some of the best wrestlers here in Australia today.
As painful as it looks, with the right training, physical structure and technique, the AWF wrestlers have been trained to properly take all kinds of falls and hard hits. The AWF never fails in providing top-notch family entertainment for its fans. The dedication of these men and women of this Aussie Federation ensure all its fans are always walking out with smiles.
What did I think of tonight's event?
Yeah, it was pretty good. They put on a pretty good show, and it was good.
I thought today's show was pretty damn awesome.
First time we tagged together, so that was awesome. He's got a shaved head now, as you can see, so I guess that's kind of awesome.
Actually, it was very good to come back to the Campbelltown Catholic Club and the new and improved Cube.
The first time we've been here in a few months because they've had to build this new venue. The crowd was big and hot and enjoyed the show, and my match went over really well, even if I lost. Bastards.
You're watching this.
Yeah, I know.
This man is a godsend to the business.
My match tonight, tag teaming with Chris X, one half the tag team champs. That was pretty cool. It was also a privilege for me because it's always sort of nice to be able to team with the young up-and-comers here in the Australasian Wrestling Federation.
A sculpted physique. He is phenomenally athletic. He cleaves through the competition like it's soft cheese and he's some sort of whippersnipper.
Yeah, it went well, and no one got injured, and everyone had fun, and that's the main thing. So, and that'll be $10.
Nothing will stop him. This is just the beginning. It's to the goddamn sky from here. And if he's lucky, Theo's going to ride along.
As I said, crowd reaction, love it here at Campbelltown. They were in everything. I think it was a pretty solid card, top to bottom, up and down. I look forward to coming back here in a couple of months.
But it's all about you, Chris X Factor.
Another show down, Australasian Wrestling Federation. Very happy with the event tonight. Good crowd reactions. The wrestlers all wrestled hard, and it's another successful night. Not always as successful as tonight was. Sometimes you have your lows and your highs, but tonight, very happy with the show, and all the boys did very well. So, on behalf of the Australasian Wrestling Federation, I'm TNT, and I'll see you next time.
Find out what makes a superstar tick. This is Starspace. TNT.
Greg Bounds is better known by his stage name, TNT as one of the best-known professional wrestlers in Australia. In March 2007, TNT won the AWA Superstars World Heavyweight Championship, defeating all challengers. So, is wrestling as dangerous as it looks? And how did Greg get started as a wrestler? Let's spend 10 minutes with him and find out.
Tell me, are you still the champ?
I certainly am. This is my Australasian Heavyweight Championship belt, and I am the champion of the AWF.
Well done.
Take a look at that, brother.
Wow, it's heavy.
It sure is.
How long have you been the reigning champion?
Well, I defeated Seamer from Dragon Gate Japan in January on the 7th. I nailed him with a detonator, and it was 1, 2, 3. It's TNT. Your new AWF champion.
AWF Australasian Heavyweight Champion, TNT.
Tell us about the training to be able to do all these fantastic moves.
Basically, myself, I trained here in Australia originally. Then I took it to the next level. I went to Tijuana, Mexico, and trained with Rey Mysterio Sr. Wow. I run the AWF School of Professional Wrestling, so I actually train other people to wrestle. We train ourselves mentally so that we can get in there and kick whoever's butt comes to us. There's a whole world of different opponents that we got to face, so we got to be ready for anything.
What style do you have, having trained with everybody?
Well, basically my style is like a combination. I like to fuse everything that I've learned from all over the world. I use a whole bunch of high-risk and high-intensity moves, neck breakers from the top rope, Frankensteiners, whatever you can do, I can do even better, and I do it to my opponents.
Now, obviously you weren't born TNT. How did you get into this?
Well, it might not be TNT on the birth certificate, but in people's minds it's TNT, so I keep it that way. However, as a young boy, I did have another name, which was Gregory, from about 7. From the very first time I saw professional wrestling, it took my mind. It was something that was so different and so big, and I wanted to be part of it. I was like such a big wrestling fan that I even had my own wrestling newsletter, which was called the Pro Wrestling Update. I would have had over 100 subscribers at the time, and I used to make my pocket money from the wrestling from a young age. So wrestling's been in my blood since, almost since I was born.
See, it's amazing.
I used to have wrestling action figures.
How many did you have?
God, at the time I would have had over 100 action figures.
You still have them?
Actually, I gave away some of them at the time. Once I got to probably about 17 or so, I was starting to see a lot of girls and stuff like that. It kind of became a little bit weird.
Take it to your room, you got all these...
I got 100 dollies and little men there. It was a little bit quirky, but,
Now, were you bullied at school?
Not so much. I was like a normal kid at school. I had friends. I liked my family. I wasn't really bullied, but, there was always a smart comment from the jock that, wrestling, it's all a load of baloney or whatever, but, it never really bothered me. I think it kind of made me like it more.
So how does a young teen get into wrestling?
Basically go to a good wrestling school and get trained and learn the right way. That's the best way to do it. From 16 and up, they can come and learn the necessary steps, to train their body, train their mind. There's also how to conduct yourself in wrestling. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of elements that go into making a good professional wrestler.
Because without those, I can imagine you can get really hurt.
Well, absolutely,
those basic skills.
Wrestling is a very dangerous sport. They say don't do this at home, and kids, do not try these moves at home. They are very, very dangerous. You will get hurt.
So have you seriously injured yourself?
I've broken my ankle. I've had reconstruction of my ankle. I've had niggling injuries. Right at the moment, I've got a bit of a shoulder tear. So I'm a little bit banged up, but I heal up pretty good, and I'm ready for any kind of challenge that there is.
Now tell me, what goes through your head when you're standing on the top rope and about to perform some crazy move off the top rope? What goes through your head?
I hope I hit this guy with it. Maybe,
Is there an element of fear at all?
Well, these days, not so much. People say you guys are fearless in the ring, and we probably are. However, we do have to keep in the back of our mind sometimes that we got to live to fight another day, so we try to stay safe sometimes, but for the most part, we're crazy.
Yeah, TNT, one of the hardest strikers in the country.
Now, can you pinpoint one of the greatest moments you've ever had in wrestling?
Just meeting some of the fantastic people along the way, the fans, making good friends within the wrestling. Some people that I call friends for life I've met in the wrestling business. Generally, just going and seeing different places has been a great reward for me. Some places I probably would never have been if it wasn't for wrestling.
So with wrestling, how much of it is, brute strength, and then how much is kind of fantasy?
Well, it's a mixture of both, I believe. Many of the wrestlers, they actually fuel themselves from the fans. I know myself, when I'm getting beaten up and I'm at the end of the match and I'm trying to just reach into my stomach, sometimes I'll hear the call of a fan. I'll say, come on, TNT. I'll go, I'm going to do this for you. And then, this energy that you can harness from the audience, you can bring it inside your soul and it makes you strong. And then it gives you that extra, kaboom to come back and basically hit the detonator and 1, 2, 3. That thing back, and I'm the champ again.
How big do you have to be? I'm guessing I'm a bit lightweight, but...
Well, there's an old saying, being big doesn't necessarily make you good. Being good makes you good.
Is wrestling kind of like an excuse to be a big kid professionally?
Of course it is. I still haven't grown up. I'm 30 years old and I still get to act like I'm 18. Yeah,
just wrestle with your mates all day.
Come on, champ. Here we go.
Is it hard to make a living from it?
For me, I'm probably one of the only people in Australia that makes a living from professional wrestling, so it is very hard for an up-and-coming wrestler to just do wrestling. But there's probably maybe 100 people in the world that are on a full-time wrestler wage, so it's a very, very small industry. But, wrestling is on the rise here.
What did your parents say when you said, I want to be a wrestler?
I think they saw it coming. They knew for a long time that I was fully into it. There is no stopping me. My parents never really liked wrestling that much. My dad sure as hell didn't like it. But, they're accepting, and they know that I was a good kid that didn't cause them any trouble. So, said, well, keep me off the streets, and it's, you could be, probably doing worse things.
Do you cop any flack now for being a pro wrestler?
I think more people these days are more like, wow, you're a wrestler? That's really cool if they've never met me before. Or, if they do know me, they just know he's the wrestler guy, so...
So have you ever been in trouble in the real world and had to call on your skills or anything like that?
Not so much. I never really get into fights. I kind of, once or twice I've had people try and antagonize a situation, but it's been diffused pretty quickly. For me, the art of fighting without fighting is a much smarter tactic,
Have you ever hurt anyone?
Wrestling is one of those things. People get hurt. I'm sure other guys have been hurt, but I've never injured anyone seriously, so they've had to go to the hospital, which I'm quite proud of,
So what do you think makes a superstar? And what's the secret to your success?
Hailing from Sydney, New South Wales, Australia, weighing in at 100 kilos, he's the current AWF Australasian heavyweight title holder. Put your hands together